This isn't plugged in, by the way. It's just here because I need something to do with my hands. Hello all, I'm here to bring you along on my journey of watching 100 new movies in 2026. I'm currently recording this on my MacBook, and I hope that it's not picking up all of the random audio because my window is open right now and there is a bird outside, and so I really hope you can't hear that. Also, sometimes the wind blows and my door opens, so I'm also hoping you can't hear that. But I don't know, there's something I really love about, I love when people record videos on their computer. I don't know, I record a lot of videos of myself just like talking on my computer just for like fun, so I just felt like this is very true to me, like this is just how I am, and so I decided to film it this way instead of like on my phone. I am not even attempting the 365 movies in a year because I'm a full-time student, a film student, but still a full-time one, okay? I don't got time for that. I don't. So we're just gonna go for 100. But my rule is that they have to be 100 new movies because I'm a chronic rewatcher, okay? And it's something that I have always known about myself. It's something I like to rewatch things. I know what I like, you know? But it gets to a point, and sometimes it's like, okay, you are not consuming enough media outside of your own little bubble. You know what I mean? I don't like to live my life that way. I'm a lover of films. Like, why, you know, like, I don't want to box myself in. It's also fucked my letterbox. My letterbox is so right skewed, which I do think that, like, ultimately I am a right skewed letterbox person because I tend to like a lot of things. But it is severely right skewed because I've had my letterbox since I was in my sophomore year of high school, and now I am a sophomore in college. I have rewatched so many films in that time, and I log everything I watch because I like to see it for my like stats, like how many movies I watch a year. Even if it's a rewatch, I just like to see like my stats of how much time I spent watching movies and stuff. But I would like watch something and then like rate it a 5. Like I rewatched all of the Barbie animated movies and rated all of them 5 stars. Like, yeah, like to me they are, but like that's also like nostalgia. Part of this is because I want to watch new things. Part of this is also because I kind of would like to fix my letterbox rating by forcing myself to watch more films and give them my honest opinions. That was kind of long-winded, but whatever. So we're on this journey to watch 100 new films, and I thought that it would be fun to do a little recap of all of the movies that I watched in each month. It's currently Sunday, February 1st. Happy Black History Month. And let's get into everything I watched in January. Not the whole year, just January. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through my letterbox and tell you every movie that I watched this month and talk a little bit about them. My goal is not to talk for too long because I am also a chronic yapper, so some films I have like notes on that I want to talk about. Some of them I will talk about just kind of briefly, just to try and like keep things concise. I'm also not gonna give you my rating because I am not opposed to the rating scale. Like I do give ratings, and if you want to see like my actual like ratings on the films, I'll like link my letterbox. But I just think that like a review with like words says a lot more than just like some stars. There are multiple films in this lineup that I gave the same rating, but like the reasonings are different, and so I just like don't, and I think everyone has different rating scales, and so I just don't want to use like numbers to be how I really talk about things. So I mean, if you really want to see my numbers, I'll link my letterbox, but I'm just going to talk about like my actual thoughts and opinions on them. I watched 10 movies this month. The first movie that I watched this year was Evangelion 1.0, You Are Not Alone, which is the first of the Neon Genesis rebuilds. As you can see, big fan of Neon Genesis, okay? But I've never seen the rebuild, so I watched the first one, which is essentially just the first like 6 or so episodes. Out of all of them, the first one really doesn't make that many changes to the original story because it's essentially setting you up for the other one. I still really enjoyed it, obviously, because I love Neon Genesis. I haven't actually watched the other rebuilds. I literally just watched that one to like get it out of the way so I could watch the other rebuilds, but then I haven't done that yet. So technically, is it a rewatch? Some may say yes because I've seen the show. I'm saying no because I've never seen this version of it. Thank you. Anyways, the next thing I watched was Avatar Fire and Ash, and I really wanted to love it more because I love the first Avatar film. Even with, when even back in the day when you would be like, I love Avatar, and they'd be the fucking blue people, I stood through all of that for how many fucking years were between, like, the 15 years between the first film and the second film. Like, I have always rode for Avatar. I think, is there like a Guinness World Record of like who's seen Avatar the most times? Because it was probably me, and I probably completed it by like age 7. I was obsessed. Pandora is like not my home, but I know my way around. So of course I saw the second film in theaters, and I loved it. It was great, whatever. Realistically, I think I rated it higher on Letterboxd than I probably would give it now. Just because, again, I think I was kind of a little bit blinded by nostalgia when I watched it. Questioning my own ratings here. But, so obviously I saw this one in theaters too. I saw it a little bit delayed. Yes, because I had the flu when it came out. So, we had a little bit of a delay. It's okay. So, anyways, I finally made it to the theaters to see Avatar. And, well, I enjoy being back in the universe. And I still really enjoyed the experience. But it got me thinking a lot about, like, growing up, I would always hear people talk about how, like, Avatar is just, like, all fucking VFX, and, like, it's not even that good, it just, like, it looks cool, blah, blah, and I was always like, I don't know, I think it's a great film, and I still think the first film, like, is a really great film, and I think it is great, like, on its own. It's not, like, some profound new plot or anything like that, like, oh, aliens, colonization, oh, yeah, I get it, whatever, but I think that it's still, like, I think that it's a good film. I think it's a great movie. I enjoy it. I think there's a reason why it has this, like, huge fandom and why it's done so well. Like, I don't know, I think the first one's really great. I do think that, like, the other two films, the story's starting to get kind of repetitive. Like, it worked with the first one. The other two, it's kind of starting to, like, but at the same time, I keep coming back to this. Like, if he released a fourth one right now, I would go see it. Like, I keep coming back to this because I enjoy the world that he has created. And I think that it's such an interesting balance between, like, the actual story, like, plot of the film versus, like, the world that exists in, like, this digital world that they have created, and, like, this technology that James Cameron has built to be able to create this world is really, really fascinating. I think that James Cameron is, like, an insane, like, just technician and engineer in the field. I think that Avatar is an experience. Like, to watch an Avatar film is an experience. I still think that it was a really enjoyable film, and I really enjoyed watching it. But I guess with this film, it really is becoming clear to me in the areas in which the plot is lacking. But I also think that Avatar really exemplifies to me, like, what film is, in the sense that it is bringing together storytelling and technology. When we get, like, the Lumiere brothers and the cinematograph, that's how you say that, right? Anyways, by the time we get to there and film, we are just kind of shooting shit to shoot shit. Like, it's like, yo, we have this thing that you can literally just point and shoot. Like, literally point and you're good, you know what I mean? Like, we'd never had technology like that before, really, and so it was like, you had this thing so we could just record whatever, and that's kind of almost how I feel about James Cameron. Like, he is inventing technology to create films, and it's kind of like, make whatever the fuck you want. You are creating this technology, and I know that it's kind of hard to work with. It may not become the next big thing, but he's creating technology that, like solely to tell a story. And, like, is that not what film is? Like, you've created this technology, and now you're combining it with storytelling. I think James Cameron is really exemplifying, like, what a filmmaker is. Like, he is not just telling a story and things. He's adapting and creating technology. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Avatar. Next up, The Hobbit, Desolation of Smaug. This is a rewatch, my only rewatch of the month. I went to see it in theaters just because they had the Hobbit films back in theaters at Regal. They also were re-showing the Lord of the Rings films as well, and I didn't get to see any of those, and I'm really mad. But fun fact about me, I love Lord of the Rings. They are some of my favorite films ever. So I decided to go see The Hobbit, Desolation of Smaug, which is the second Hobbit film. But I've seen them all before, so I was, like, fine with jumping in the middle. But it's been a while since I watched them. I watched them when I was in high school for the first time. I remember rating them like really high. You can actually go on my Letterboxd. You can go on my Letterboxd, see my Avatar Way of Water rating and my Hobbit ratings, because I had my Letterboxd at the time. And I rated them, like, I rated it, like, really high. Like, I gave The Hobbit really good ratings, like, as if it was on the same level of Lord of the Rings. And looking back, I'm like, I was watching it in the theaters, and I was like, no fucking way I gave this 5 stars. I was really excited to see the film, and it wasn't a bad experience. I was so happy to just be in Middle-earth. I was not alive when the Lord of the Rings movies came out, and then I had not seen any of the Lord of the Rings movies when the Hobbit movies were coming out, so I didn't see any of them in theaters. So I was just really excited to, like, be back in theaters seeing these films. Like, I'm just, like, super excited about that. And so just being back in Middle-earth, and it was just, you know, really, really fun for me. And I do enjoy the story of The Hobbit. Sometimes people compare The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, and I think it's because the films came out, like, you had the Lord of the Rings movies come out, and then you got The Hobbit coming out, like, later on, kind of as, like, prequel films. But technically, when Tolkien wrote The Hobbit, he kind of just wrote The Hobbit because he was, like, soft launching the idea of, like, Middle-earth. Like, he was like, wait, like, I'm gonna do this thing. And then he just kind of ended up tying The Hobbit into Lord of the Rings, but it wasn't originally written to be, like, the prequel to Lord of the Rings, you know? There was a bunch of stuff about it. Look it up. So, I don't really, like, nitpick The Hobbit, I guess. Like, I don't expect the story to be on par with Lord of the Rings. I think it's a fun, enjoyable story for it is. Like, hobbit, dwarves, and a wizard go on this quest to, you know, get back what is rightfully theirs, and they fight a dragon and orcs and trolls and elves along the way. Like, it's really fun, and it's fantasy, you know, like, I enjoy it. For me, I think that the story of The Hobbit is really fun. It's also one book that gets dragged out over 3 movies to kind of, like, go along with the Lord of the Rings trilogy, so sometimes it's kind of like, there are some bumps in the road in there because they dragged out one film over 3, so it kind of, there are some moments where it's kind of like, but my biggest complaint with The Hobbit is that it is literally unbearable to look at. It was shot at a higher frame rate, I think, to try and make it seem more, like, fantastical. That's kind of, I don't know if that's exactly correct, but I assume they did that because it would give it that more, like we're in a fantasy world. There's a reason we have a set frame rate, because it looks normal. I'm sorry, as soon as you mess with that, I'm like, it looks off. On top of that, the camera is constantly moving. So we're at a higher frame rate, and the camera is just in constant motion, and it low-key, like, makes me nauseous. The entire sequence where Gandalf, like, faces Sauron when he's, like, the necromancer, it's really cool because, like, the entire, like it looks like the setting they're in, this broken down kind of, like, castle, it looks really nice, but the camera is literally going, like, whoo, whoa, wah, wah, wah. Like, it's, like, doing that, and I'm like, yo, I'm gonna puke. Can we stand still? I can't even see any of the damn architecture. It drives me insane. The camera is almost constantly moving in that film. Like, go look at the Hobbit movies, and, like, how many times is the camera just still? It's not, bro. It's literally just, like, in constant motion, bro. It moves so much. It is so, it's my biggest pet peeve. And then also, it's heavy reliance on CGI. There are a lot of things that, like, factor into that. They had a bigger budget now, so they could do CGI. Like, they couldn't do as much CGI in Lord of the Rings because it was, like, too much money. Part of the reason why the OG trilogy is, like, so good is because of the use of practical effects. Middle-earth is, like, our Earth. So the reliance on CGI always makes it feel, like, a little out of this world, a little bit too much. We're a little digitized, you know, and it just starts to look like a little bit fake and gay. I really do appreciate, like, you wanted to give me those trolls. You really wanted to give me, like, some trolls, some real trolls, and I'm like, I love that, but they sometimes look a little bit silly. But I also think it's really funny that I watched Avatar and The Hobbit, like, I literally watched them a day apart, and I gave them, like, the same rating, but, like, backwards. Like, Avatar, I was like, I am here for the visuals, essentially. Like, I'm here for the world that you've built. Versus with The Hobbit, I was like, I'm here for the story. Like, I like the story of The Hobbit. The VFX, not a big fan of, and it's, like, the opposite with Avatar. And I think that's, like, so funny. I really thought about that for, like, a long time after I watched those movies. I've, like, written down so many little notes about those like two movies because they just really got me thinking. Yeah, the next film I watched is for school. It's for my documentary studies class. I watched Nanook of the North, which is Robert Flaherty's. I mean, on the topic of the Lumiere brothers and the cinematograph and things like that. Nanook of the North, it's recognized usually as the first documentary. It's cool because it's like, whoa, like this is kind of the first documentary, but it's also like, yeah, not really great representation of Inuit people. I did 2 entire class sessions dedicated to this, so I kind of don't feel like rehashing all of this again, but I know it sparks a lot of discussion about who is this for, and in this case, you know, it was like white audiences who were like unfamiliar with Native culture, and so kind of plays up certain parts of the culture and whatnot, and it gets a little bit icky at times. So yeah, but I watched it for class, and it sparked some really good discussion in my class, so that's nice. Next film that I watched is One Battle After Another. After Oscar nominations came out, they reissued it in theaters, and I was like, let's go, because I didn't see it in theaters, and now I get to. So I went to see it. I liked it. I loved it. I honestly didn't want to. It was getting like, I don't know, I saw like, it's kind of the movie that's been in a lot of comparison to Sinners, and it seems to be like Sinners' biggest competition for the Oscars and whatnot, and I was a huge fan of Sinners, and I've seen a lot of people use it kind of against Sinners. There's one thing to discuss film, I don't mind doing that, but I've seen a lot of people get real nasty in comparison between the two films. I didn't want to love it, I'm not gonna lie, but I really did like it. I love the whole entire landscape of the entire film, the first act of the film being very like city, you know, revolutionaries in the city. It almost feels like superhero-esque, and then the second and third act having this more like western landscape is reminiscent of like western films. It takes that action from being kind of like superhero-esque, vigilante-esque to like classic action, and I think that that's like a really fun layout to do this commentary kind of on like America, like big cities in the West, and the action scenes are just absolutely fantastic. I mean, it's great. That car chase, I haven't seen a movie with a car chase in forever, but I also haven't seen a movie with a car chase that good in a long time either. Like, I don't know, like a car chase, I don't know, like it was like, I didn't know that's what I needed, but I was like, wow, like, yeah, it was just so good, and the soundtrack is great, great performances, insane performances. Chase Infinity's Oscar snub is really hurting my soul. Sensei, best character in the film. He is the true revolutionary. Everyone has said this, but you know, he is the true revolutionary because he cares about community more than anything else. And I think that like to me, that is the biggest, like, community is the most important thing. It is the thing that I think ultimately we are fighting for. When we fight against like racism and homophobia, I think ultimately like we are fighting to create a community, like a safe community. And so I really love that like the character that really, like the true standout revolutionary in the film is ultimately because he cares about community, and he knows exactly what to do because he cares about like the community. With all that being said though, like people calling this, like acting like this is like a super woke film, and it's actually like some people have like made fun of it for being like woke or tried to say that it's more woke than it actually is. Like I think that obviously it is commentary on America and things, but it's also like it was made by a white guy, and I think that's very apparent. He does a really great job at capturing the white supremacists in the film. They are so incredibly ridiculous, but there is a sinister evil within them, and I think that is exactly how they feel. Look at any just like think about some like white nationalists. They are probably like so ridiculous. I mean, look at the fucking politicians, bro. Look at, like, they're so fucking ridiculous. But unfortunately, it's not funny because there is something deeply evil and seriously wrong with these people. You know what I mean? Like, the scene where they're talking about if he has, like, a mixed daughter, and they're like, you know, well, what's she mixed with? And he's like, she's black. Like, it's kind of ridiculous. Like, they're that disgusted by the idea that he would be attracted to a black woman, and that makes people exist. Like, that's kind of crazy. And so I think that he did a great job at capturing the mind of like the white supremacists and how they feel, because he is a white guy and he's probably met the people like that, you know what I mean? So I think he captured that really well, but I think he struggles in certain areas, specifically the first act of the film really heavily. I think it suffers the most because he does, I think that the portrayal of black women and black revolutionaries was really, it really hinders the film in certain areas. The depiction of black women gets a little icky at times. I just think that the relationship between Pat and Perfidia gets a little weird sometimes, and then also just like Perfidia's characterization sometimes, just the way I saw it is kind of like she becomes like lost in the revolution, and she gets a little selfish, and then that's why ultimately she kind of rats them out because she became too focused on herself, which is kind of in comparison to Sensei, who is this community-based person, and he's like the true revolutionary that like doesn't do, you know, like he stands on it, allows himself to like get arrested for the community and the cause and everything. But I just really hate that black women seem to always be the one that have to bear the fucking burden of this shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, damn. And it just gets like kind of weird sometimes. The kind of hypersexualized black woman is not like uncommon in media. I was a little bit icked out by that for the first act of the film. I am glad that I honestly, as much as I love Tiana Taylor, I am really glad she was only in the first act, because if that carried on throughout the entire film, it really probably would have killed it for me. Like, I was glad we could wrap that up, honestly. But I'm not happy that it had to be wrapped up the way it did, because also the depiction of revolutionaries is kind of sometimes a little bit muddy, but I mean, maybe that was intentional, because he's trying to show that on both sides, the revolutionaries and the white supremacists have their flaws, but I just don't know if I liked the way that it was done. But I did think that, I did still think that it was a really good film, and I've been talking to a lot of people about it and raving about it and talking about how much I enjoyed it. I think the scene where he's like on the phone and the guy is like, I can't let you in without the password, and like he won't, and he's like doing the thing, and then also finally they get the other guy on the phone, and he's like, yo, like this is like the fucking goat, like you're playing in his face, and you should know who this is. And then he like tells him everything, you know. And it's so funny because I felt like that was really a depiction of like internet activists, you know what I mean? Like the people that they're such a stickler for the rules that they forget that like in a time of action, like sometimes like not everything goes perfectly, like you just kind of like sometimes shit just happens, and like people that have like done this before, like they maybe know more of what to do. And I thought like scenes like that were kind of funny. But I just think like it muddies the message a little bit, like the portrayal of revolutionaries and even like the internet activists. Like I thought that was funny because I, you know, see people like that online, but also it's like, okay, to paint like the activists as a little bit ridiculous, it's kind of like, well, no, like they're still fighting for like a good cause, you know. But at its core, you know, this is a film about this dad and his daughter getting back together, and so I think sometimes the revolutionaries take a hit so that we can get this daddy-daughter story. I think that's all I have to say on that. I've been talking for a while. Yeah, and then the next thing I watched is Paris is Burning, again for my documentary studies class at school. We were still kind of talking about ethnographic films between Nanook of the North and Paris is Burning. Again, this sparked a lot of good discussion in my class, and I also discussed this over 2 sessions in class, and so I don't know if I have a lot to say about it here because I've already done a lot of talking about this in class, but I do think it's really interesting. I'm someone that, you know, I grew up on Twitter and Stan Twitter, so a lot of the like terms in this film, you know, like I've heard them before. Like, it's interesting because it again brings up the discussion of like who is this film for, because they do like they'll kind of define the terms. They talk about like realness and like voguing, like they'll define these terms, but they're things that I'm familiar with because because over time ballroom culture has kind of adapted into like gay popular culture. But at the time when this film was coming out, it's, you know, it was once again kind of a film that was for the masses that seem to be unfamiliar with this, which kind of brings into question like, you know, is this something that we should show the masses? Looking back on it, like we talked about how like who is this film for, because this seems to be defining these terms as if the watcher is not familiar with these things, so it doesn't seem to be made for people within ballroom culture who would know these terms. Now looking at this as someone that's like I discovered a lot of these terms from like Twitter, these things have become such a part of like pop culture. Like, is it something that we should have showed to the masses and allowed to become a part of the culture and like mass media and things? So yeah, again, really interesting discussions. I did enjoy the documentary much more than I enjoyed Nanook of the North, and yeah, I mean, all of the praise it gets, I was like, Understandable. The next film I watched was Marty Supreme. Marty Supreme was kind of the opposite of One Battle After Another, in which I really wanted to love Marty Supreme, but I just didn't. Like, when it came out, it was getting, like, all this praise, and I was, like, super excited to watch it. Again, like with Avatar, I had the flu, so it got a little bit delayed, and so I, like, finally got in to see it, and I was like, yes, let's go. And then it fell kind of flat. I have this funny little note where I said that the whole thing is just, like, really intense. Like, the whole time we are just, like, on 10. All to ultimately just feel kind of flat. Like, we do all of this, all for it to just be kind of, like... When I was writing my notes, I was like, this is low-key ping pong. Like, I was, like, literally, they were like, ooh, 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 all this for table tennis. And it's like, damn. I don't know, like, it's just kind of funny, like... No shade, like, table tennis, like, I can't play, like, it's not easy, but it's just, like, kind of funny, like, it's like you're doing all this for fucking table tennis, like, not real tennis, table tennis, and, like, that's kind of how the film felt, like, we're doing all this just for it to be kind of, like, I don't hate it. I think that a lot of the praise it gets is valid. Like, I think that it's a really interesting film. I was listening to a podcast talking about it yesterday, and I agreed with a lot of the things that they said. I just still came out of the film feeling kind of, like, obviously it just didn't hit for me. I think Timothée Chalamet is a great performer. I always thought that, though. Like, I've been writing for Timmy Tim since I was, like, 13. Like, me and Lise, we go way back. Hell's Kitchen, where it's at. Okay? Like, I know Timmy Tim, bro. I think that he's a great performer, and he's always been a great performer, and that he's had so many great roles. I just don't see why this character is, like, so much better and gonna be the one that, like, wins him an Oscar. Like, he should have been got an Oscar. I just don't see why this character is the one that's, like, gonna be the one. I don't, like, hate Marty either. Like, some people, like, they're like, I hate the movie because I hate Marty. And some people are, like, shitting on you if that's your opinion. But that's not my opinion. I don't even hate Marty. I just think I think the character's just kind of, like, I don't know, the whole thing is literally just a shrug to me. Like, I don't really have anything else to say. The soundtrack is also good. It was just kind of, like, it was good. Next up, Hamnet. I'm also watching, I don't know if you can tell, I'm watching all of the Best Picture nominations. I'm trying to watch all the Oscar nominations, but I'm working my way through Best Picture first. So, I love Chloe Zhao. I've never actually seen any of her films until this one, but I've watched a lot of her interviews and read articles and watched interviews that she's done, and I just really love listening to her talk. I like her philosophy on filmmaking. I like the way that she goes about storytelling. So refreshing to, like, hear her talk. Like, I just really enjoy listening to what she has to say. So I was really excited to go into this film because I really like Chloe Zhao, and I enjoyed the film. I felt a kind of disconnect with the film just because I personally am not someone that connects really well with, like, family-oriented stories sometimes, specifically parenthood-oriented stories. It's just something that I kind of struggle to. I don't know, I just don't have, like, a maternal bone in my body, so I guess sometimes I struggle in that aspect. But, I still found it to be a really beautiful film because I have empathy. I also think, like, visually it's so beautiful. All of the, like, nature shots within the film are, like, so beautiful, coupled with the soundtrack. It's just so, like, devastatingly beautiful. It's the Globe Theater, when we see the Globe Theater for the first time, not even just, like, the scenes that occur there, just the theater itself, I, like, low-key got emotional because I love Shakespeare. It was just so good. I really liked that. The performance from both Noah and Jacoby Jupe, they're brothers, and Jacoby played Hamnet, and then Noah played Hamlet. They were such great performances. They both have such bright futures ahead of them. I want to see them both in so many more things. I think that my love for Chloe Zhao really elevated this film watching experience for me, because I have heard her talk a lot about on her philosophy on women and life and film and fulfillment in life and things like that. And so kind of being able to, like, notice those things throughout, like, my film watching, because I am familiar with how she thinks, so I can, like, spot that in her film, like, really elevated my watching experience. And so, yeah, really great film, really enjoyed it, and I really need to dive into her catalog after this. The next film that I watched was Iron Lung, which is Markiplier's film. Yeah, I didn't like it. I don't really know that much about Markiplier. I just kind of, I grew up on the internet, so he was always kind of a figure, but I never watched his videos or anything growing up. And so I literally just saw it on the Regal app, and I brought it up to my friend, and she had mentioned that she wanted to watch it because she did used to watch Markiplier's videos when she was younger. So I was like, oh, like, let's go see it. So then I went to see it, and yeah, it is basically incoherent. Like, I can't tell what's going on. One, because you can't see anything. Trying to see anything in that film is literally like, and mind you, we're in a dark theater. Imagine watching this like in your house. I can't see anything, and also I can't hear anything. Like, half of the audio is just like, I I don't know what they're saying. It felt like a video game, like in a bad way though, because it's literally like I think I put this in my review that it's kind of like watching just a really boring gameplay. Like, you're just kind of watching this guy walk around and like mutter to himself and like occasionally speak to someone, but like you don't really ever know what's going on, and there's no explanation, and it makes no sense. And apparently the game is also kind of like that, so I don't really see why he chose to adapt this game. I read one single Reddit article before I saw this film that mentioned that the game is like a solo game where kind of nothing happens. And so when I read that, I was like, maybe we're gonna kind of see it's gonna be about the human mind, you know, because like if you're just left alone by yourself in like this like metal box, like it's gonna incite some thoughts and some feelings, you know. But it just really didn't feel like anything. It really felt like a nothing burger. Like, it was just nothing. Every time I thought something was gonna happen, there's like parts where it gets like, ooh, we're dipping into something, and then it just kind of falls flat into nothing, and nothing is ever explained or expanded on, and it ends. I turned to the people I was with, and they were like, what'd you think? And I was like, fuck you mean, what did I think? What the fuck did I just watch? Like, I will say, you know, it was a passion project, and so I respect that, and I hope that, you know, if he continues to do this, that I can see his other stuff and that it will be more enjoyable than this, because yeah, I didn't really love this. Yeah, that's all I gotta say. I went home though, and I decided I needed to pick me up because this was my last watch of the month, and I was like, this can't be my last watch of the month. I was like, I kind of want to watch a Studio Ghibli film because I always talk about how much I love Studio Ghibli and I love Miyazaki, and I have like not seen a bunch of them. There's a bunch of Studio Ghibli films that I haven't seen. I just really like Howl's Moving Castle. I've seen a few, but I like haven't seen like Ponyo or like Princess Mononoke, Spirited Away, like the big ones. Haven't seen them. I watched Howl's Moving Castle when I was like 14. Decided it was so good I never needed to watch anymore. Apparently, I just watched that. I think I've seen that film enough times to like cover all of the ones I haven't seen. So I went home and I watched it as a little pick me up after Iron Lung, and great choice on my part. God bless me. Like, apparently I like forgot the most important part of this, which is the name of the film. I watched Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, which is an early Miyazaki film, and I really wanted to like crack into Studio Ghibli films and Miyazaki films that I have yet to watch, and so I decided to start with this one because it's one of his earlier films. I love Miyazaki. I think a lot of people kind of make jokes about him being this like pessimist. Like, he has like a lot of serious topics for someone that makes these like really beautiful films and these like really like animated, colorful worlds. But it's something that I really love about him and that I find really profound, because I also think that that's just like yeah, that's life. Like, there's a lot of serious things, there's a lot of sad things, a lot of dark things, but also like we do kind of like we live in a really beautiful world, and there's a lot of positives in the world, and so I really do love him and his work. And I really thought that this was like such a perfect film, and I'm really glad that I watched it. I think it's a really interesting observation about humanity, and the fact that this, you know, in the film, war has basically destroyed civilization, and now 1,000 years later we live in these little kingdoms that are almost medieval, but like still have remnants of, you know, human technology. Like, they have airships and stuff, but we have these toxic jungles that are just kind of left behind after this war now, and they are basically attacking humanity, and we're on the brink of extinction. With all of this, the kingdoms are still fighting each other. They're fighting each other for power and control because they want to continue to dominate. They want to continue to be the dominant race on the planet. And so they're fighting each other for control so that they can fight back against nature, which is seemingly attacking them back. And it's like, yeah. So like, war is obviously the right choice, if that isn't what led us here. And also we find out later on that the jungle isn't purposefully attacking them. The jungle is just cleansing the planet to like start anew. And unfortunately, that means that humanity is being cleansed as well. Nature isn't cruel. Nature is simply prevailing. The earth was here before us. The earth will be here after us. Before us, there were dinosaurs. We aren't the first thing on the planet, you know? And so it's like the earth is just prevailing. But in the face of that, we've never thought to think, like, why is the earth doing this? We just immediately were like, we need to fight back against it, and to do so, we're going to fight each other first. You know, like, it's just such like human nature thing to do. But it's so beautiful because there are still people out there like Nausicaa who understand what's going on, and they understand nature and human nature and the world, and she is able to kind of bridge that gap a little bit. And I know the ending is kind of it like ends on a nice note, but it's a little bit ambiguous because the manga wasn't done when they made the film. But I still think it ends on a really hopeful note. And I think, like, in all of the jokes that people make about Miyazaki being kind of a pessimist, I still think that there is some hopefulness that you know, lies within his stories, and that I think lies within a lot of us as well. I am a deeply hopeful person, even living in America right now, you know, and seeing everything going on in the world, and seeing, you know, we are in war with each other, not just militarized war, but like a war in values and things like that. We're so divided. I still really do have a hope that me and so many other people who do care about these things, like, can prevail, and that goodness can prevail, and that we can continue to fight for these things and try to bridge this gap and to save nature and also community. Because I think, like I said before, I think community is one of the most, it's the thing that I think we really all crave and that we fight for, is a safe community for all. And I am very hopeful for that. And so I really enjoyed ending off on that film for the month. I also noticed the similarities in certain aspects of it to Mickey 17, which Mickey 17 was my favorite watch of 2025. I love Mickey 17. I really want to rewatch it. I just I'm restraining myself from rewatches, but I loved Mickey 17. I'm also a big believer that stories like Nausicaa about, you know, humanity and human nature, and sometimes how selfishly we act, but, you know, don't forget that nature was always here, and it was here before us, and that we have to protect it and ourselves, and stories like that. I think that there's something that won't ever get tired, in my opinion. Like, I think it's a constant reminder that we as people need in this world, which we, you know, view ourselves as the dominant species, and where we have so much power and control over so many things, so many aspects of our lives, that we sometimes need to be reminded of the world that we live in. I think stories like this are kind of always nice to be retold, and after, you know, it's been 40 years since Nausicaa came out, so it was like, maybe it was time for someone else to kind of, you know, tell that story again. I enjoyed the similarities, and I liked both stories, so when you like both things, I feel like it's fun to find similarities, so I really enjoyed that. And, yeah, it was a really nice way to end my January. I don't know what my first watch of February is going to be. Actually, it might be for my class. Yeah. So thanks for coming along with me on this journey. I hope this is really fun for the next year. And hopefully I'll continue, you know, maybe I'll continue to do this next year, and it'll be a fun little thing that we do. I obviously want to make some videos in between. I don't want to just post, like, my one monthly recap video. I want to post some other things. So I'm trying to brainstorm, think of some things. So I don't know if you're seeing this and you have any ideas. Chat, let me know. Watch new movies. Get out of your comfort zone. Try some new genres. Go to the movie theaters. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, share, you know, all the things, so that people can watch me go on this little journey. And love ya. And me. Okay, I'm so sick of this shit.